Welcome back, Nick Lenz. This Comic Corner, Classic/Non-Classic. This is episode number 885 and Doubleshot number 779. Two more X-Men trades by Chris Claremont. And of course, next one will be two more. This one reviewing the second and third volumes of X-Men Forever 2. Yep, these are the two of them. First up, we're going to talk about the second volume, which is Scream a Little Scream, which collects issues 6 through 10. Of course, by Chris Claremont. Artwork by Tom Grummett, Mike Grell. Mike Grell does issues 9 through 10. Tom Grummett just does issue 6. Rob Lem does issues 7 through 8. The cover, of course, done by Tom Grummett, Corey Hasmer, who is the inker on the book, Will Cosina, who is one of the colorists in the book, and the other colorist is Veronica Gadani, who also has the cover art. This one, the team encounters duplicates of both Sabretooth and Wolverine. Yep. And also, they encounter the Marauders. Yeah, they seriously do. It's good the fact they brought back the Marauders. Now, if anybody read any book that came out in the 90s, generally the Marauders did not show up there. It's like they show up for Mutant Massacre, disappear for a good 20 years, and all of a sudden they brought back just recently. Like Mike Carey brought them back. First time in many years. So it's the most of the original lineup, joined by a few new people. Yep. Yeah, this also going to Tokyo. More developed by Kitty Pryde. And here's Kitty Pryde in her suit. Yeah, it's like the artist basically made her because the fact that she apparently. And here's the thing about Kitty Pryde. It's filled in here. Not only does she have one of Wolverine's claws, but also the nails from Sabretooth. But also, apparently, she inherited Wolverine's healing factor, which I'm like, that's interesting because her power is that she can phase through stuff. And now she has a healing factor. Okay, fine. Whatever. Yeah. Good set of stuff sets up for the very end of the series, and I'll talk about that soon. In this book, 9.5 out of 10. Now to talk about the third and last volume for the series, which is Perfect World. And yes, Captain America gets beat the crap out of him by Cyclops. This collects the last 6 issues of this series. Of course, written by Chris Claremont. Artwork not by Tom Grummett. He just does issue 6, and that's it. He doesn't come back for the rest of the series. Well, he doesn't come back as the interior artist. Yeah, for the last 6 issues, there is at least 4 artists for these issues. First you have Rodney Buscemi, who does issues 11 and 12. 13 is done by Robert Atkins. Andy Smith does issues 14 to 15. And 16 is done by Roman Macias. Yeah, Tom Grummett just does the cover art. He doesn't do any of the interior issues. Which is kind of weird because he basically drew the entire original series. Yet this book he just doesn't care to do it at all, which is kind of weird. With Corey Hanser, Mary Hallwell, Wilford Cressida, Chris Sotomayor, Matt Molina, and Brad Anderson. With this book, we wrap up in these last issues. We wrap up 2 plot threads. Yes, 2. One is there's a plot thread involving a character known as the Ghost Panther. Now, throughout this, it's assumed it's T'Challa, who some people probably think he faked his death. But actually who it is quite bizarre, to say the least. Yeah, this character has a connection to the Extinction Agenda. Yeah, the storyline involving Cameron Hodge, where he kidnaps the X-Men, puts them on trial for bogus crimes, and of course the trial was, in a kangaroo court, and Havoc is basically one of the magistrates because, well, he was suffered from amnesia. And this is, of course, before he formed the government incarnation of X-Factor. Yeah. And we also find out the whole plot thread of the Imposter Storm being the ruler of Wakanda. Yeah. The Ghost Panther is revealed to be a copy of the real Storm, and it kind of merges with Roar, the child version of Storm, which this character first showed up in the issues in a handful of issues that led to the debut of the character Gambit. Yep. So the X-Men they free Genosha from the imposter Storm. They actually succeed in overthrowing her, but publicly she's still in charge. though it's the actual Storm, and they have the character Mystique, not the actual Mystique, though she does show up in the series. She's a member of the X-Men. And she apparently reconciles with Rogue and Nightcrawler. She reconciles, and they kind of though Nightcrawler still doesn't call her by a familiar name, but he does respect her. Yep. And then, of course, like not long after they had taken the imposter hostage, the Avengers show up and act like complete dicks to the X-Men because they fake their deaths and they're not happy with that. Yeah. Like I said, when they showed up in the end of the previous series, I did not like how the Avengers were written. Like, okay, Cap was acting on information that he did not verify. He's like, okay, I have info, the X-Men are evil, let's attack them for like no reason at all. And of course, Hawkeye being very skeptical of it, which he should be, though he's a little more skeptical here than he is in the regular universe. So they fight the X-Men, and then of course, they apparently come to terms when they reveal though that of course, they also fight over the fact that, well, they talk about Tony Stark in here, and the fact he's a member of the Storm. I still think that's a bizarre thing Chris Claremont did with him. Yeah, and this is a guy who's never expressed any bigotry toward the X-Men in the past. He doesn't hate mutants at all. And yet, for some reason, he became part of a group that hates mutants. Yep. So, they actually imprison the imposter Storm, and the real Storm takes over as ruler of Wakanda with the scar that Kitty Pryde gave her at the end of the first arc of the first series, which some of the character Master, who's known for basically altering like skin, so it gives her the scar so people know that it's her. And apparently they have the Avengers like on her side, and of course they have the Storm acting differently than what they know about her. Also, they have also in this book I forgot to mention Marco. Yes, the half-sister of the Silver Samurai. Yeah, Silver Samurai shows up in these two trades. And she's working with the Consortium, which I'm like, that's weird. She blames the X. She blames Jean Grey. And here's the weird thing. She blames Jean Grey for the death of Wolverine, even though the imposter Storm is the one who killed him. Which, that makes no sense at all for her to do that. Like, why would she work with the woman who murdered the man she loved? That makes no goddamn sense. And blaming the wrong woman for it, that was really dumb on the part of her to do. And apparently, Wakanda is going to work with Genosha via peace order. It's not going to annex it, just become like form a peace agreement with them. And of course, Director Trask's like, okay. Oh yeah, and also, I should point out though, this woman basically ousted Nick Fury as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And now we have a bigot in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, that's quite stupid. Really stupid. Someone who's actually publicly known to hate mutants, and you put her in charge of the World Peacekeeping Task Force. Yeah, quite dumb. But the story here is actually pretty good, though they do not wrap up the storyline of the mutants have to Burnout. Yeah, this book in 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, when you finish reading this series, you're like, man, there's several plot threads that this series did not wrap up by the time the series ended. I mean, the only major plot thread this thing wrapped up was the imposter Storm being in charge of Wakanda and the Ghost Panther. That was it. That was the only two plot threads resolved by the time you get to this. Is there a cure developed for mutant burnout? For burnout? Yeah, they're still researching it, and the storyline was never resolved. And the whole thing with Consortium, yeah, that's a plot thread that was never resolved by the end of this series. Yeah, they're still a threat, and they're not taken down. Weird. So, there are many plot threads left hanging, and of course, XMen Forever. Now, I do have a theory of why this series into 16 issues. Excuse me. My theory is that it was canceled due to low sales. Yes, that's my personal theory on the matter. I don't think it's because of the relaunch, but at least they call it XMen Forever 2, which is the follow-up to it, and that's my opinion on the matter. In fact, that's the reason why the series ended. It's because low sales. This overall, I mean, for X-Men 2, mind you, it's a fantastic series, though some of the writing is quite dumb on the part of Chris Claremont. Like, the Avengers ran like complete dicks, and of course, attacking the X-Men on information they have not verified it's even true or not. Hawkeye not believing anything the X-Men are saying, which, despite the fact there's plenty of evidence presented before him, he still refuses to believe it. I'm like, did Chris Claremont really not like the Avengers? Did he really despise the Avengers that much? Even though he wrote 2 issues of the main series, and he wrote the Avengers number 10 annual. Yeah. The same annual they introduced Rogue. And of course, fixed the stupid stuff that Avengers 200 did. Yeah. But I have no problem with this series overall, but also I gotta point this out. I don't know if anybody's gonna point this out though, is that that Jean Grey's symbol as the Phoenix, it's very similar to the symbol on Nightwing's costume from DC Comics. Yeah, it's a very similar look. Yeah, though it's not exactly like the classic outfit from the 80s where it's like red and gold. Of course, there was a green and gold outfit that she wore briefly. Yeah, that was during the original Phoenix Saga, and of course later on she got the red and gold costume for the classic Dark Phoenix Saga by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. I think Byrne did design that costume, but this is a different costume. It's blue. I don't have a problem with that at all. Also, the series never about to explain of why Gambit stopped wearing his Jim Lee costume. Yeah, that was something that in story they never explained why, because when you read the whole series, it's like, okay, we have Gambit in his look that Jim Lee gave him when he made his debut back on KX 265, and then of course we have it where he's wearing a suit, a trench coat, and shades, and apparently this is Gambit, and apparently his last name in his universe is Picard, not LeBeau, which honestly makes no sense at all. I'm not sure why Chris Claremont changed it for me. Yes, Chris Claremont did create Gambit, so he has every right to change stuff about him, but changing his last name is quite dumb. I don't know why. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So the whole point of this series is that this is a different direction that what the X-Men took after X-Men Volume Number 3, which is the last issue Chris Claremont did for 8 years before he came back in 1999 and was on the book for like a year, and then he left, and then he came back at least, I think it was like 4 years later. Yeah, it was like 4 years later he came back to the book, and he was on the book for a good 3 years. Yeah, he was on the book for 3 years before he left. Was it 3 years? No, it was actually 2 years. He was in the book for a little over 2 years, and then he left, and of course he did this. There's another series I'm about to talk about soon. He's done several late X-Men, but he's not, as far as I can tell, he has done anything the only thing that's not related to the X books is Exiles. That's the only thing in the past like 18 years he's done that's not an X-Men title. Well, it kind of is. It's part of the franchise, but it's not like has the title of X-Men on it. Though he didn't do the recent book, that was done by the writer of Black Bolt, which was a damn good comic book, though it's ending in 12 issues, which is kind of odd. So, yeah. 2 good trades, just didn't like the writing in the Avengers. Yeah. Why did they spread the Avengers this way for? It's so bizarre. Yeah. He has written some of his character comics. I mean, he wrote the Captain America comic for like 2 issues. Though I was still wondering, at least Captain America, I don't get why Captain America is written like this for. It's like, here's the weird thing about Steve Rogers. Apparently, whenever he shows up in a book that's not like his own solo title or an Avengers book, half the time he disrespects a lot of characters. Well, sometimes anyways, and that's basically of recent stuff. Yeah, I don't know why he does that for. It's particularly very weird. And why do Avengers basically disrespect a lot of superhero teams? Yeah, it's particularly very weird. I know that the most recent example of this was actually in the Avengers Champions Cross the Worlds Collide, where Sam Wilson, this was of course during the period of time when I think he was still leading the Avengers at this point, and I believe he had just given up being Captain America, and he disrespected the champions. Even Miss Marvel called him out on that. Yep. So yeah, that's it for this particular review. I've got roughly 2 more videos I'm going to do today. One, of course, is a review of Season 3 of Case Closed. The other being another Comic Corner. Okay? Otherwise, so that's really it for today for videos. Okay? But do see you next video. Bye.